if you want to lead leaders, you have to be secure in your own leadership.
Yeah, and for us control freaks, that can be a little challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because things will change.
Yeah.
I mean, leaders typically influence change, and which means this is a dynamic situation. It doesn't mean this is always forever going to be this one way.
Well, today on the podcast, we have one of my good friends, Krista Wallace, and I'm super excited to be talking with her today because she has an incredible background in specifically the learning space, the teaching, educating space. And I know you've been the Director of Learning Innovation at Elevate for how long now?
3 years now. And thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
Of course.
It's great to be here today.
And then before that, though, you co-launched with your husband Doulos, which was an international Christian school in the Dominican Republic.
Yep,
which is
Doulos Discovery School.
Doulos Discovery School. It's a
mouthful.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you also launched Pico Escondido. Am I saying that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Pico Escondido.
Young Life Camp in the Dominican Republic. So you spent what, like 20 years down there?
19 years in the DR. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, almost 20, right?
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. And then the other thing that we've really bonded about is talking about like women in leadership, because you recently completed Yale's, I think it's the School of Management Leadership program, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So that was really cool to hear about that. I didn't even know there were, leadership programs for women in these big universities, but we're going to get more into that. So
I'll tell you more about it.
Exactly. Well, so I'd like to just talk about explain a little bit about what you do, because I think you have a really unique job.
Yeah.
You're in the nonprofit space, but Elevate also isn't a Christian organization. It's a civic organization, but it's run by a bunch of Christians. So
yes, we are a bunch of faith-filled people for sure.
yeah.
But my role that I have with Elevate is Director of Learning Innovation, which means that I get to do all of our training and equipping of staff.
Right.
I focus a lot of my time on training new staff, brand new teacher mentors and other positions. But I also manage all of our professional development for our staff across the country. We're in 17 cities across the states.
Which is amazing. And the Navajo community.
And now the Navajo Nation,
Yeah.
which is a brand new launch.
Which I did not know a nation could exist within the U.S. And the Navajo is their own nation. They have their own president.
They have their own language.
It's amazing.
It's really cool.
So, and with Elevate, you're really in charge of, explain what a teacher mentor is, because I think people aren't familiar with that.
So a teacher mentor is an adult that's full-time, fully salaried. So when we think of mentoring, most of the time we think of volunteer.
Right.
Something that you do once a week or a few times a month,
Like
a few
Boys
hours.
and Girls Club or...
Yeah. But so a teacher mentor is a full-time employee of Elevate in that city, and they teach accredited elective classes in public high schools or middle schools. But also about half their time is spent in the classroom and half the time is spent with that student outside of school, which might mean afternoons, evenings, which might mean a weekend, which it definitely includes summers and some camping programs. But it's someone who is on that school campus as a staff person.
Right, 8 hours a day or
8
whatever.
hours a day.
Yeah.
Yep. Sometimes less, because they've also got to take into consideration after school activities with kids.
Yeah.
So it's a full-time position to be a mentor in a teaching position at the public school.
Yeah.
Which is very unique.
And I having the privilege to work with Elevate, just doing some freelance marketing and things over the past, I guess it was a year ago, I really was impressed by how it's sort of a model where you can have that influence as a mentor, but because you're in the teaching zone, your access to kids is much higher.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know as a Young Life leader, right, I would just see my kids after school. Maybe we'd bring pizza for lunch.
Yeah.
But the, amount of, it was still a lot of investment, 15 hours a week probably for me, of picking kids up and hanging out with them, taking them to club. But with teacher mentors, it's like you're being paid to be present.
Right. We're offering courses.
Yeah.
That are credited through the school district. So these are electives that students are getting credit for. And these classes focus around social emotional learning, leadership development.
Yeah.
And then 12th graders take Elevate Beyond, which is it's a class that helps them know what the options are after high school, and then help them create a plan, and then teacher mentors walk with them to help kind of see that plan to fruition.
Yeah.
So
one of the things we were talking about is that in the nonprofit space, a lot of women are leaders.
yeah.
And so I'm curious what that looks like in your organization.
So if you looked at most nonprofit organizations, either, faith-filled organizations or not, or civic, or so many nonprofits in our communities are run by women.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful opportunity for women to begin to lead.
Mm-hmm.
I know personally, my husband and I, we started a nonprofit organization, and I was the executive director of that. I was also the headmaster of the school that we started in the DR. And it was a really great space for me to learn how to grow, to learn how to manage people, work with the board of directors, raise money.
Nothing like being thrown in the deep end, right?
Well, honestly, and going back to the Yale, School of Management Women's Leadership Program, one of the things that I learned about women in leadership is that we tend to be more gifted naturally in leadership.
Oh, interesting.
Because
I don't
we're
know if
relational.
Our husbands would love to hear that.
Right?
Sorry.
Well, and the superpower that many women have is this ability to lead through relationship.
Yeah, collaboration.
We're far less competitive and far more collaborative.
Yeah.
And long-term collaboration is going to be more effective in developing healthy teams, for longevity of your staff, for growing your organization, than having a highly, highly competitive attitude, at least for nonprofits.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting thing to learn.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
How's that show up with like your staffing? Is it predominantly male, female?
With Elevate?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of women,
yeah,
for sure. And we do have more and more women in leadership. So probably a third of our executive directors are women. And then the next level of the next level of leadership is almost completely women.
So that's the teacher mentors?
Nope. That would be like our program managers, our education leads, the ones who are managing the team.
Oh,
so the executive director is the one raising support, being the public face of the organization.
In each city, right.
But that next level of leadership is really the one who's managing the nuts and bolts of the organization, the people.
Well, and this is just my point with why it's so important for women to be trained in how to lead, because they find themselves in these leadership roles and there's not a ton of resources out there to figure out how do I improve my leadership, right? So that's something that I'm curious, how do you guys develop your leaders within, and like how have you learned, because you're kind of in a role now where you're a leader developing other leaders who are managing
which
other
is
leaders.
A perfect role. I love this role.
Yeah, you're like three leadership, because you have you, then the executive directors, then you have, their program managers, then the teachers, and all of those people are in a chain of leadership. So I'm just curious, how are you dispensing leadership down the chain?
So if you look at it from the bottom up, we are a mentoring organization. So Elevate is a mentoring organization. Truly, leadership is developed through this mentoring relationship somehow.
Yeah.
So I train our teacher mentors, and then a lot of time, we'll have a few teacher mentors that kind of rise above, and we go, man, they're ready for the next level of challenge. And so then we create a position of like an education lead or a program manager. And then as that affiliate continues to grow and develop, we will have further leadership opportunities within that affiliate. And it may be great for a male, it may be great for a female. So it's really trying to find the best fit.
How do you guys kind of spot like leadership potential in people? That's what I'm interested in. As a mentoring organization, how do you spot and how do you cultivate it?
Personally, so I'm going to use a term in Spanish.
Okay.
There's a term that I love. It's called inquieto.
Okay.
So un inquieto is someone who's restless.
Okay.
Who's like,
oh, I love that.
Who sees something and they're not just going to be okay with status quo.
Yeah.
So in my mind, a leader is someone who is observant enough to notice when something's not quite like it should be.
Right.
And also has the wherewithal and the inquietude, like the restlessness, to do something about it.
And say, like, I'm going to raise my hand and say, I want to fix this problem, or I want to grow this potential thing I see. Yeah.
Right. So we can, as leaders, we could hear that and be like, oh, I have a problem staff.
Yeah.
Or you could say, she has leadership potential,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Someone who's like, wait, this isn't going the way I want it to go. We need to do something about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Instead of being annoyed, like, why are you bringing me
annoyed
problems?
or threatened.
Yeah.
A lot of times people feel threatened when you have that kind of person on your team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want a whole team full of these people.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Right?
Because you're thinking, okay, they have leadership potential because they're pointing out things that need to change.
Exactly.
So instead of me being annoyed by that energy coming my way,
Or
I should
threatened.
channel it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. How do you want to solve that problem?
Yeah. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
And then you begin. So at the basic level, leaders want to lead.
That's true.
And when leaders don't have the opportunity to lead,
They get very stifled.
or they leave.
Yeah, that's true.
If leaders don't lead, leaders leave.
Yeah, I love that.
Right?
That's a great quote.
Because if they're not having opportunities to continue to grow in their organization, or maybe if it's not in their work, in their personal world, if they're not continuing to be able to stretch those, use those muscles that truly have been God given in many senses, they're gonna go find a place to exercise
That's
that.
so true. I've actually never thought about that. Now that you say that, I'm looking back on jobs that I've had, and when I felt really stifled or micromanaged or unable to take any initiative, I was out of there within like a year or two.
Yeah, me too.
And some people will look at my career or my resume and be like, you've had so many jobs, you've done so many things. It's like, well, I think I was kind of always looking for somebody who saw that potential in me and was willing to mentor it. And when I found a boss or somebody above me who was maybe threatened or, like you said, or like just annoyed and just wanted me to stay in my lane and my box and do my little job, and it was like, okay, then I'm going to start looking for another job.
Right. Yeah, because I've got more to offer.
Yeah.
This isn't all I am. This isn't all I do.
Yeah.
I want to be able to fully maximize
And why wouldn't you
potential.
want that? This is what I never understand.
I know.
Like, why wouldn't you want someone who wants to take your vision and expand it with their talent,
For one very simple reason. You begin to lose control when you empower others to lead.
Yeah.
So you have to be if you want to lead leaders, you have to be secure in your own leadership.
Oh, I love that. Say that again.
Okay. If you want to lead leaders, you have to be secure in your own leadership.
Yeah, and for us control freaks, that can be a little challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because things will change.
Yeah.
I mean, leaders typically influence change, and which means this is a dynamic situation. It doesn't mean this is always forever going to be this one way.
Yeah, it's not the military where there's like this process and protocol that has been this way for 50 years. It's like this is an organic beast that's going to keep evolving, and you have to be comfortable with that evolution. Right. So I'm curious for you, like, do you consider yourself a leader? Obviously, I would say yes because you're in this role, but when did you kind of realize that, hey, I think I might be a leader?
That's a great question. And that was when I was thinking about on the drive over here. Honestly, since I was probably a teenager.
Okay. You just always felt that.
I have typically been the first one to step up and try something new. I'm the one that's kind of recruiting my folks to do things. I started my first business when I was 16.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's just
what was your first business? I'm curious.
I taught swimming lessons.
Oh, okay, cool.
In my backyard.
In your did you have a pool?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A very small pool.
Okay.
But it was enough. So, yeah, did that for 5 summers.
That's so cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, now, where did you live? Because I'm like, nobody has pools in their backyard in Colorado. Unless you got
I grew
money.
up in Texas.
Okay. Everybody got a pool in their backyard.
Everybody. Yeah. You fly into Dallas and you're like, oh, look at all that blue.
Yeah. It's because to survive the Texas
it's
heat,
so hot.
You got to have a pool in your backyard. Yeah. That's super cool. So it was kind of through your teens and then as you were kind of coming up.
Yeah. And I think just, so I don't know if you've ever talked about Enneagram on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm obsessed
a little
with
bit.
Enneagram.
Yeah.
So
I'm a 7.
Me too.
Oh, I didn't know that, Sarah. That's cool. With a very strong 8 wing.
Okay. I think I have that too.
Yes.
I think because people always think I'm an 8. And I, for a long time, thought I was a 2. And then I was like, maybe I'm just
so a lot of women of
2.
faith tend to, we learn habits of a 2,
and then
of being that helper.
2s, right?
And then we think, but that's not naturally what we would.
Well, it's taken me a long time to depart with that. Like, because I really, when I first did the Enneagram for like a few years, I was like, I am a 2. Yeah. Like, I don't care what people say about the Christian woman thing. I am for sure a 2. And then, because then I was like, 2s go to 8 in stress. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a stressed out 2 all the time. And then after like some more, like the past year, I've really, because I'm married to a 2, and Stefan is very clearly a 2.
Okay.
And I'm like, I do not operate like him. So I must not be this. He's much more compassionate and giving.
Calmer.
Yeah. Like, and I'm like very spicy.
Boom, boom, boom,
and
boom,
like,
boom,
I got to
boom,
be
boom.
going, and I've been
You
like,
have all these plates spinning at the same time.
the pandemic, I like imploded because I couldn't do any activities. I couldn't travel. I mean,
I'm so bored.
Yeah.
Like boredom is the
Yeah.
most terrifying space to be in as a 7.
Exactly. Exactly. And like not being able to escape. So like, the whole fear of the 7 is like escaping pain or negativity, and it's like
or being caught in the same thing over and over
yeah,
again.
yeah. So anyways, okay, but where were you going with that?
Okay.
So we're both 7s.
So honestly, I can't remember.
Okay, we were talking about how did you know you
Oh,
were
yeah. So
okay.
part of me as a 7 is I was always trying new things,
Okay.
right? So kind of this perpetual quest for adventure.
I relate to that.
Truly. I mean, my undergraduate was in outdoor education.
Right.
And then we ended up moving to the Dominican Republic, which was also kind of part of this adventure.
Yeah.
Starting multiple. I mean, and so my husband's an 8 with a 7 wing. So I'm a 7 with an 8 wing. He's an 8 with a 7 wing.
Interesting.
So we're actually a pretty good blend for each
Yeah.
other. We understand each other's
Yeah.
very high levels of energy and risk taking. And
That
if it
is
doesn't
a
work
good
out,
combo.
that's okay. We're going to try something new. Just shut it down. I mean, we've started a lot of ventures, businesses, social entrepreneurism. And so for me, I tend to be the first. I'm quick to initiate. I'm quick to launch things.
Yeah.
But I'm probably not going to still be in that position 5 years later.
Yeah.
Like I'm in an organization right now that I help launch. I've been in it 7 years. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm still in.
I made it.
Yeah.
But
kinda
part of
shocking.
it is like it's always kind of evolving. So
Yeah, it's true.
it's if
As long as it's still creative.
if it starts
Yeah.
to stagnate.
If it's just management of something, then I'm probably going to lose interest fast.
Yeah, and I think that's such a common thing with leaders in general because they tend to be visionary. And so part of it is also surrounding yourself with people who love to
Yeah, you need all people for your team.
who love to do the parts that you don't
Right.
love to do, and they don't love to do the parts you love to do, you
Right.
know. And
Right.
I'm curious, like, so we talked about, like, you've worked with a lot of young people throughout your whole career, like from the Dominican to Young Life to, the school and
Now with Elevate.
Yeah. What do you really see, like, in next generation leadership?
So I typically, I mean, really, and when I look at my last 30 years of professional work, most of my work has been done with people in their 20s,
Yeah.
which, and I have 3 daughters now in their 20s,
Yeah.
which is very fun. There is a high level of curiosity and energy, and there's not a lot of fear in that decade. So I think
cool.
we can do a lot. It's just a really fun age group to work with
Yeah.
because they're still in this learning mode. Like a lot of them, whether they went to college or not, their brains are still really spongy.
And they're really open, I
They're
think.
super open.
Yeah. That's something I felt
Which
now that
is-
I'm 36. I felt, this is when you get a little crusty and you like don't want to change stuff and you don't want to try new things and you
It takes
risk
energy to
avoidant.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I would say that's the hugely positive side of working with young adults is there's incredibly teachable, but you have to earn that right to be heard with them. You can't just come in and go, hey, because I'm the boss, you have to learn how to lead through relationship with that age group for sure.
Do you think that's just this generation, like millennial?
No, I think
Gen
it's true
Z?
with anybody.
It's any age.
It's
Yeah.
anybody. But
Okay.
I think 20-year-olds and that they will discount you really quick if there's no effort to develop relationships.
That's so good. I think that's important for people who lead younger people to hear because I think I've definitely been in my 20s with leaders who were in their maybe 40s or 50s and didn't really care to get to know me, didn't make any effort to just be friendly even. You know?
You need to, and I think one of the key secrets to leadership is valuing every person on your team.
Yeah.
You mean really? I mean, that's kind of the secret sauce we have at Elevate is that we truly, we want to we want to give dignity. We want to call out, we don't give dignity. We call out the dignity that is God-given in each person, whether it's our students or the people in our schools or our teams. And we know when we're being appreciated. We know.
Like everybody knows that feeling. Yeah.
We do. We know when someone truly is interested in us.
Yes.
Not just because of the role that I do or the work that I'm going to do for you, but are you really interested in me?
Yeah, as a person.
And when we as leaders can truly make the effort to get to know each person on our team that we lead, it goes, I mean, it's the effect is tenfold.
And I think we do this really well, like in ministry contexts. I think like anytime I've been on and I haven't served on a church staff, but I have been like on a leadership volunteer level where I'm working with church staff and we're having meetings and we're having that team time. And I've actually worked at a nonprofit that was, or worked with a nonprofit that was a ministry as well. And so it's like, I think in those contexts we do it really well, but I think in like corporate, like small business, marketplace settings, it gets a little harder to figure out how do we do relationship professionally where we're not crossing
without being
lines.
Transactional.
Exactly. Without being like fake or,
Well, we have to know what's in our own, like, how do I view this person?
Yeah.
Am I just valuing them because of the service they can offer?
Right.
Or do I truly value that person?
Yeah. And I think as Christians too, whether you're leading a small business or you're leading a Fortune 500 company or you're leading a ministry, it's like relationship is what Jesus modeled. Like,
absolutely.
So there's not really I'm not a people person.
This is the way of leadership by Jesus.
Yeah.
He valued his 12.
Right.
And he valued everybody that he came in contact with.
Well, and it was interesting because I saw actually a graphic at a church service I was at where it showed exponential discipleship. Yes. And it showed how when you have stadiums or huge groups of people, that is not as effective actually sometimes as when you have mentored, like Jesus mentored 12. 12 went out and mentored more. Those people, and the multiplication effect
is massive.
It's massive. And so sometimes even just mentoring the 3 people on your team can be more like impactful than the 30,000 people on your Instagram, And,
100%.
And I think the younger generation doesn't get that yet. Like a lot of them want to build these massive platforms because they're like, to have influence, I need to have 300,000 followers and this many likes and this much engagement and all this stuff. And from a marketing world, we kind of reinforce that, like, well, you got to have all this stuff to
be an influencer.
Yeah. But I think there is something about to have true influence. Like,
so one of the tools that we use is a tool that was developed by Young Life.
Okay.
Super simple. And it's called the leadership tree.
Okay.
And you
I
can
don't actually know this. I've been in Young Life forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually I'll send you the link. You can put it in the show notes.
Okay. Perfect.
Super simple. So if you think of a tree, let's say has 4 main branches. So in the Young Life leadership tree, every leader has 3 people that he or she is discipling, is mentoring, pouring into, equipping, whatever words you want to use. They're training these 3. And then over time, let's say over maybe 2 years, each one of those 3 is going to find 3 to mentor.
Oh, okay.
And then over time,
I love that.
This person, so I have my 3.
Right.
And then my 3
have 3 more.
Will each have their 3.
Yeah.
And then over time, those 3 will have their 3.
It's like the best form of multi-level marketing. It's like
but you never stop.
A mentoring pyramid scheme. I love it.
Yeah, right. Gosh, no, please.
No offense to anyone who does that, but
the idea is that I'm in relationship with my 3 for decades.
Yeah.
Like I will continue to pour into them. I have someone mentoring me, right? Or I might have a couple of people mentoring me. But this idea that there's longevity in this mentoring relationship. It's not just for a season. It's literally for a lifetime.
So how do you get, like, this is one of the things I've asked myself too, is like, one, how do you find a mentoring relationship at the stage of life you're in? I felt like it was easier in college, like college age.
Right, because it's set up for you.
You set up for you. But like post 25, it's like it's hard either to find a business mentor. Sometimes it's hard to find a spiritual mentor. Like I think that's hard. And then I think once you're in a leadership role, it's even harder.
It's even harder.
Because you're leading people, but then you might look around and be like, I'm not being mentored.
Yeah. And I did feel that way when I was leading our school many times.
Yeah.
And we started our school when I was 30.
Okay.
And I was one of the oldest on our staff.
Yeah. And you're like, who's mentoring me?
I know. And honestly, so to go back to your question, I think everyone who wants to be mentored has to be proactive.
Okay.
Don't wait for a mentor to seek you.
Yeah.
That probably will not happen.
Right.
In fact, in a business sense, it probably never happens.
Yeah, you actually have to go out.
You have to go out and be proactive. So if I want to be mentored, I need to go out and seek the people. And so I'm going to give a personal example. So when we started our school, we did not have, I knew I wanted it to be experiential learning, but we didn't have a model to go with for K-12 learning.
Yeah.
So I went back to my college professor, who was one of my mentors, Dr. Camille Bunting at Texas A&M. And I met with her. I told her what we were starting, and she was super excited. She goes, there's really very few schools in the world that do experiential learning like this.
Yeah.
And so
what is that, by the way? I don't
experiential even know. Learning just means that it's not paper and pencil. It's not just, it's not passive, that you are literally experiencing, you're in this creative process.
Okay.
So if I'm going to learn about coral reefs for 6th grade science.
Yeah.
We're literally going to spend a week at the beach with a marine biologist, snorkeling, looking at coral reef, learning how the reef system works.
I would have loved that.
Oh my gosh.
I would have been
Most people would love it.
Yeah, I was saying.
It's so good.
Especially for kids who have ADD and whatnot. It's like, get them away from the desk and the book with the picture of the coral reef and out touching it or looking.
So you get them out of the classroom and they're physically experiencing and learning and absorbing, but they're also creating something. So with our school, we used the expeditionary learning model, which actually here in Denver, there's quite a few EL schools.
Really?
My daughter teaches at one of the original EL schools in the Denver area, but I needed a mentor.
Yeah.
My professor told me about this model, but she said it's new. This was in the late 90s. And, this was 2002, 2003. And she said, hey, there's a guy that just wrote a book. You should check out his book. So his name was Stephen Levy.
Okay.
I bought his book. I was like, oh, totally. This is exactly what I want our school to look like.
So she shortcutted your...
She shortcutted, and then she gave me a name.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to go find Stephen Levy.
Yeah.
So I went to a conference in Oakland that was an EL conference, Expeditionary Learning Conference, met Stephen Levy.
Okay, wow.
By God's tremendous grace, this man is a born-again Christian.
Oh, wow.
Jewish by birth and heritage, but became a Christian in his 30s.
Okay.
And he and his wife, Joanna, both mentored me and our school through this whole process. But I had to be proactive.
Yeah, you had to go, literally find this guy at a
Literally.
conference.
I had to find money to bring him in, to bring him to our school every year.
Yeah.
He's also the one that is our, so we do Christian Deeper Learning together, me and Stephen and this other guy, Dan Behrens.
What is that?
So Christian Deeper Learning is what we did at Doulos, this whole idea of taking Christian education but making it experiential so that it's real work that meets real needs for real people.
Okay.
And so that there's this idea that learning is far beyond the classroom, far beyond just that, even your school.
Yeah.
That it really is, it draws in the community and the needs of the community, what's important. And inviting kids to be problem solvers and to learning how to serve well in their community.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious, just as a side note, if parents are listening to this and they're thinking, I want to learn more about this. I've never heard of this.
So Christian Deeper Learning, this is one of my ventures.
Okay.
So we started this 7 years ago. Okay. Now, if you go to christiandeeperlearning.org, there's a 3 times weekly blog that gets put out. I do a regular podcast.
Right.
And then we have an annual conference. So this year the conference is going to be in Vancouver. We have, and it's really for teachers. I mean, it's leaders are invited, school leadership is invited, But it's really looking at this on the classroom level.
Yeah.
So it's equipping teachers well with
I
how
love
do you
that.
do this on a day-to-day basis and create healthy culture in your schools.
So
in the
you
process.
found a mentor and you've been mentored in this arena. I'm curious, like when you are a mentor, so like, you know, how do you, because I think people get intimidated to become a mentor because they're like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
I've got kids. I've got,
I think you
know.
ask that person, what do you need?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want? What role do you want me to fill?
yeah.
Is it, do you need help advancing, yourself in your career? Do you need help advocating for yourself or negotiating your salary or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, be specific. What is it that you want me to help you do?
Right.
Because there's probably a reason why that person was selected to be a mentor
Yeah.
by that person.
Like if someone's asking you, hey, will you mentor me?
Yeah.
Instead of your knee jerk being like, I don't have time. I don't know. Like ask them like,
Just be, why?
what's the expectation?
Yeah,
Why
what do
would
you need?
Yeah.
Great, I'm honored.
Yeah.
Super honored. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Because you could have chosen anybody else.
Yeah.
Thank you. What is that? When you ask me to do that, what does that look like for you?
How do you think younger women can ask older women, maybe in their Bible study or at their office, or like, I know for me, one of the problems was working in politics. There was literally no one. Like there was no other women. There's no other Christian women. At church, it was like a lot of stay-at-home moms and people who could not relate to what I was dealing with. And then at work, I didn't know any Christian women.
Yeah.
So I was like on an island. I had Christian friends, but they were all peers my age, you know? So how would you find a mentor? And then like, how would you recommend a young woman
Approach them.
approach your mentor?
Well, first of all, you need to show interest in the person of that mentor, not just in their role.
Okay.
And what they could do for you.
Okay. So they don't feel like you're trying to like social climb them. Like,
Right,
yeah.
right. So it needs to be authentic relationship.
Yeah.
But, I think you go that young woman could approach the person she wants to mentor her and go, first of all, I admire you. There's things that I've noticed that, first of all, I want you to know that I learn from you. I watch you, not in a creepy way, but just in a, so much more is caught than taught in anything we do.
Yeah.
And so just for that woman, for the probably older woman to go, well, thank you. I'm honored to hear that.
Yeah.
And then for that young woman or the woman requesting a mentoring relationship to say, do you have time? Could we meet regularly? Maybe it's just for coffee here at work.
Yeah.
And I could just ask you a few questions. I would love to hear your story. I would love to hear some of the things that have been challenging for you and how you've overcome that. How you balance many things going on at the same time in your life,
So just kind of maybe setting some expectations, saying like, could I meet with you maybe once a month, or just kind of being clear with what you're asking?
Yes, they need to know why they're wanting a mentor.
Yeah.
First of all, because that's probably the first question the mentor needs to ask is, what do you need?
Yeah, right. And then, but if you can, as the mentee, come prepared, say, hey, I would love for you to mentor me in this way. I really admire this about you, and I want to learn from you in these ways. Do you have 1 hour once a month or something?
Do you have any bandwidth at all?
Do you have any bandwidth? Yeah. Because I think that's something that, and then also to like not take it as rejection if they say no.
Yeah,
they
may not.
I just don't
they
have
may
it right
be
now.
totally stretched thin at this moment.
Like, but then maybe ask them again or say, hey, well, when would things loosen up for you? And if they won't, that's okay. I just am curious. And then like, also if they're not the right pick, then move on and keep trying to find one.
Truly. And it doesn't have to be a woman.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, it could be like my mentor that has influenced me most within my education world is a man.
Yeah.
Who's my dad's age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's finding someone that you already are learning from.
Yeah.
And then inviting them into that space and praying about it. I mean, praying that this would give them joy too.
Yeah. How do you, if you're, let's say you're in a point in your career where you want to give back and you're maybe, ready to mentor someone, how do you find a good person to mentor? What are you looking for to mentor someone?
Well, in our training with Elevate, we talk about being faithful, available, teachable.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
The fat,
faithful.
Faithful, available, teachable.
You're looking for someone fat.
Yeah. Look for some fat women, right? No offense. No offense.
Yeah.
But, who are the women in your field that keep showing up right?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have bandwidth? Are they available?
Yeah.
Are they naturally curious?
Yeah.
Are they teachable? Like when they get feedback from someone else, how do they respond to that?
Right.
Do they take it defensively? If they do, then they're probably not ready for that level of relationship.
Yeah.
So looking for those things is.
I think too, just being empowered to know that you can and should mentor, because that's something I feel like a lot of women who are in a later season in their life, maybe 50s, 60s, they're like, I don't know, I don't feel relevant anymore. I don't know if anyone wants to hear from me. It's like, no, like,
oh my gosh,
like,
please,
all of us in our 30s and 40s and 50s still want to learn from women up.
Well, maybe even think about creating a platform where those women can meet these women.
Yeah, exactly.
Where there's interested mentees, and there's a group of women who would be interested in mentoring. And more oftentimes it happens more organically.
Yeah.
At work, or in some kind of
Church or
other venture. Maybe you meet another woman like at a business meeting or a conference, and you go, oh gosh, I want to be you in 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's when it kind of, but other times you need it. You need more like a more strategic plan of matchmaking between the mentee and mentor.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's super helpful, just because I think that is something that's sort of missing right now, because I know I've been mentored from people from afar, from their books, from their podcasts.
True.
But there is a level of like just personal relationship that can't be ignored.
Right.
I'm curious what you have faced as a woman in leadership, because I think, just to change subjects a little bit, I think one of the challenges is the reason you need a mentor sometimes is because you're like, I don't know how to overcome certain challenges as a woman, whether that's in the corporate environment or the ministry environment or nonprofit environment. Like, it's like there's different challenges that are unique to women leaders in leadership context. So I'm curious, like, what have you had to overcome?
Yeah. Great question. I think my biggest hurdle that I've had to overcome as a woman of faith, and a lot of my work has been in Christian ministry or nonprofit work.
Yeah.
And I would say, above and beyond everything else, is helping men see me as a leader.
What do you mean by that?
Men of all ages,
Yes.
typically older men.
Okay.
There's certain social constructs that women don't lead.
Right.
And I grew up in the South. I grew up in Texas. I grew up in a Baptist church. My mother was a leader in the Baptist church, but she was never given the status, pay, or recognition of leadership because she was a woman.
And that's so interesting.
So
how there's that acknowledgement, like, we want you to do this stuff, but
well, women are what get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have women on your team, you're probably not getting anything done. But there's rarely often will a group of men acknowledge young women as leaders on their teams.
Yeah.
And grow them.
Right.
Invite them into leadership.
Yeah.
And I saw this a lot of times in Christian education. When I was running our school, I was, I would go to these leadership conferences, and I'm like, I'm the only head of school here that's a woman.
Yeah.
Wow. Why is that? When everybody else in your staff is a woman.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be the one dude?
Yeah.
It's just these parameters that we put, these social contracts that we have in our head that. And I think a lot of times, because there's not a great precedence for women in these top levels of leadership, I think women just don't even see themselves
as able to.
Yeah. I mean, there's just like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I could do that.
Why do you think, from your perspective, because I don't think men necessarily.
I don't think it's conscious.
I think it's a blind spot.
I think it's a total blind spot.
I don't think that. I think they kind of feel the same way, like, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, this does make sense to elevate you into this role. Like, why wouldn't I? You've been doing all the work of it, But I think, how can men be a little bit more aware, do you think?
I think, first of all, if you're a man in leadership, you're probably not listening to this podcast.
Yeah, probably not.
However, if you know men in leadership, I'll just say this. For the women who are listening on this podcast, you have to pursue leadership opportunities. And you don't jump from one thing to the next. You start slowly. You earn that right to be heard as a leader. You take on a new project. You begin to mentor a group of new teachers. You take on new responsibilities so that you begin to see yourself more in a leadership role, and others begin to see you as that go-to person to get things done.
Right.
Right. And then as opportunities arise, put your name in the hat.
Yeah. Raise your hand.
Even if you don't think you're a great candidate, put your name in the hat. Interview for that position.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And then it begins for people to begin to see you as, oh, Sara interviewed for that job.
Yeah.
That wasn't the best fit, but there's another one coming up around the corner.
Yeah.
We should recruit her for that.
Yeah.
You know? And I would say the biggest hurdle for a lot of women is confidence.
Yeah.
Is a lack of confidence.
You think women hold themselves back from?
Oh, I know we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. We typically underestimate our abilities.
And I think that's part of my critique with the feminist format of advancing women's right and leadership and, all of those things is that it assumes that men are the problem, men are holding us back, men are holding us down. And it's like, actually, a lot of men are not like that, especially now. No. And we are holding ourselves back.
Right. We're not the ones taking initiative.
Yeah.
We're not the ones that are being able to see ourselves. Well, and as a woman of faith, a lot of women feel like it's a conflict of interest. Like I can't choose, if I choose to grow in leadership, that will negatively affect my family.
Yeah, like it's one or the other.
And I can say no. In fact, I have 3 daughters. I want them to see me as a leader.
Yeah, and
my
see
example.
leading.
Yeah, I saw my mother as a leader, and she saw her mother as a leader.
Yeah,
you know, and so when I can step into those opportunities, it's also training my 3.
Yeah,
to be able to go.
To have the confidence.
To have the confidence.
Yeah,
and to seek those opportunities.
I love that. What do you think needs to change around? Are there changes that need to be made to make more space available for women? Because I think that is the counterpoint to this is look, there's just not seats at the table. Even if you do raise your hand, there's no way you're getting in that room,
Well, gosh, I mean, going back to the conversation about nonprofit.
Yeah.
There's so many spaces in nonprofit. Seek to be on a board.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great
You can be 22 years old and be on the board of directors at a nonprofit.
Yeah.
They would love to have you as a Gen Z.
Yeah,
right?
It's a different voice.
Yeah, for sure. Look for short-term opportunities. A lot of times there's leadership courses in communities that are college level. You're not getting credit for it, but man, you are getting really connected with other young leaders in your community. Talk to your supervisor and go, I want to continue to grow. Let the people that you work with know that you are interested, that you're wanting to be trained, that you're wanting the challenge. You have to voice it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't voice it, people can't read your mind.
That's true. It's kind of like, I'm curious too, because you did do that with, going to the Yale school. You're like, I need to.
I want to grow in this, so
even
I need
after
to
30 years, you're like, I need to.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you took from that program.
Yeah, and it's a short course. It's not like a full master's or anything.
Right.
It's a short course.
Is it a certificate program?
It was a certificate program.
Okay.
It was with women all over the world.
Wow.
So it was women from Asia and Europe and the Americas. And it was really the goal of it was helping us learn. My big takeaway from that program was you actually interview 10 or 12 people who you worked with, either under you, over you, alongside.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And there's a questionnaire, a survey. I'll send you the questions. But you send it to these different people and you go, what stood out about my leadership? When was I leading really, really well?
That's got to expose you to some.
I know. I was like, do I want to know this? And then you read all of their responses and you go, what are the common threads?
Yeah.
And so for me, I learned that I lead through relationship.
Yeah.
I lead through authentic relationship development.
Yeah.
And that's my superpower.
Okay.
And so when I'm in a position of leadership, I know without a doubt what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
And when I know that, I can lead confidently in that vein.
That makes sense.
Which is so helpful.
Yeah.
I don't need to imitate someone else's leadership style. I have mine.
Well, I think this brings up a really important point of like, I think a lot of times women think they need to lead like a man
Mm-hmm.
and it feels awkward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's had that female leader that's their boss or whatever has that very alpha like energy and competitive and just kind of, and it's like, it's almost like unnatural. Like you're like, is this your real personality or like what? Like, but I think it's because what they're doing is they're taking on, and maybe, I mean, I think
they've learned so much from someone else that it's not their fit.
Trying to mirror, and especially in these like cultures like politics or, you know, if you're working at a hedge fund or you're working in very male dominated environments that are very competitive or can sometimes be toxic. I think sometimes those toxic traits can be adapted from unhealthy men and women. But like I found for me, like I kind of had a detox from some of that, my leadership from some of the places I had operated in because the leaders I worked for were so unhealthy. And I think that part of it is realizing like if you're getting bad feedback on that questionnaire, right, it might not be that you're a bad leader. It might just be like you've picked up some habits along the way that aren't natural to you or aren't natural to being a woman leader, and you're trying to put on an ill-fitting suit kind of.
Right.
Everybody makes the joke about the female politician who's in the pantsuit or whatever, and it's like, you know, it's like, it's because literally visually you're trying to look like a man.
Right.
And you're a woman, and people feel like
and you're different.
It's weird, you know? So I'm curious.
So
like,
lead from your strengths.
Right.
Know your strengths, first of all.
Okay.
Own your strengths, and then lead consistently through that.
I love that advice. Going off of that, what would you say to like your 18-year-old self if you could go back and seeing the career you've had, seeing the things you've learned as a leader? Like, what would you say to her?
Oh my gosh, I don't. That was the one question I was like, I tended to be super sassy as an 18-year-old, and I really didn't listen to advice very well at all. I was really independent.
Headstrong, kind of.
Very headstrong. I would say to my 18-year-old self, be more teachable. Notice the people around you that already are mentoring you and lean more into those relationships.
Okay.
And I look back on my time, I mean, Young Life was a huge part of my life, so I was, I grew up in Young Life. I was a Young Life leader. We were on staff. And so just that whole organizational construct, I had a lot of people around me, whether they were volunteers or other staff, that were pouring into me. But I didn't necessarily see them as positive mentoring that I should be pursuing.
Okay. You didn't see the opportunity.
I didn't see the opportunity, and I really I did not take advantage of a lot of opportunities that I should have for personal growth.
I love that, actually, because I think that's one thing that nobody who I've interviewed has said, I was a little bit naive. I was, I missed some opportunities.
Oh, I missed so many opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that now, too. I'm like, dang, who should I have, talked to back then? Who could have given me knowledge? And I think it's all about acceleration, right? Like the mentor gives you a new platform to stand upon because they're funneling you information they've had to learn the hard way.
So go back, if you're faithful, available, and teachable, you are going to receive so much more from your mentor than if you're headstrong, independent,
or just like oblivious. You're not paying attention to the resources around you. Yeah. I'm curious, like, do you have a specific leadership rule that you kind of live by, like you've cultivated?
Yes, and I wrote this down. Love those you lead.
Oh, I love that.
So if I am truly loving the people that I'm burdened for, because leadership happens at so many different levels, if I am truly loving them, then my leadership is going to be so much more effective.
And does that mean like what do you mean by loving them? Like, does that mean
knowing them, first of all, being truly for them?
Yeah.
Not just self-centered for my gain, but other-centered, that this is going to bless them. This is going to be a benefit to them. Yeah. But taking the time to get to know them, know what's important to them. And a big part of my leadership style is equipping others. Like I don't want anyone to stay in the same role. Yeah. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and have new challenges and continue to, whether they stay with our organization or not. I want them continuing to grow and develop and
Yeah.
You know, just
You're
like,
genuinely for them.
I'm genuinely for them. I get excited when they move on because they have a better opportunity.
Yeah.
You know? And so if I can love them well, if I don't love them well, I can't lead them well.
Yeah. I love that. Say that one more time too.
If I don't love them well, I can't lead them well.
And I think that's something that people forget because you can get kind of transactional with people. Like, I just need you to do your job. Like, I just need you to like turn these reports on.
Just follow through.
Yeah. But I think if you really take the time to invest in someone, and there are going to be bad apples that you're going to have to deal with and be like, okay, I've invested in this person and, you know.
Yeah.
But I think on the whole, that's good advice, like for most people.
And that was one thing that we learned in our 19 years in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
When we first moved there, we were early 20s. And we had this very American mentality of, you're just going to get it done. Yeah. Right? We need something. We need something to happen, and we need you to do it.
It's very warm culture,
though.
Oh,
my goodness. That did not, unless, and across every social strata, if you didn't make the effort to get to know that person, they weren't going to do anything for you.
That's so...
Like, zero.
Yeah. You'll learn real quick that you got to adapt your leadership style.
I mean, even things like paying your bills at the bank, you know, it's like, if you're not...
in community with them.
If you're not kind and show value and give, you know, and call out their dignity, they're not going to do anything for you.
It's so interesting because especially with warm cultures, this is something I learned in like my YWAM training was they said like, you know, Americans, it's like if we're going to the bank, right, and then we have another appointment and we see somebody we know, we might kind of try to hide from them because we don't have time to talk with them. We just need to make our deposit and like get to our next meeting, right? Whereas in warm culture, they will run
to you.
Oh, hi.
Yes.
I haven't seen.
Yes.
And you're like, and it's totally understood and acceptable to be an hour late to your appointment because you saw your friend and you had to talk to your friend. Yeah. You know, and then the person you're late to understands because, of course, you couldn't just pass that person.
It's okay. You got all day.
And for us, it's just such a mind shift of like.
We're time oriented. They're much more
task oriented,
event and relationship oriented.
Yeah. So I love that.
But that skill. Of developing relationships so that we can become effective together. You know, I mean, I came back to the States 8 years ago, and I'm like, wow, that's still a skill that works here.
Well,
even
that's
in
your
American
superpower,
culture.
right? Like that you cultivated it
Truly.
there, but that's what now guides your leadership here and is actually.
We can get so much more done because what happens is when I truly care about you and you care about me, we develop trust. Yeah. And then when that trust is built, we can do so much more together. Yeah. Whereas if I'm just contacting you to do something and you're just, I mean, if it's just transactional, then, you know, we just won't be able to do nearly as much together.
Well, and I think that's especially true. And now there's so many hybrid work environments because of COVID. People, a lot of teams now are part-time in office, part-time out. And so that relational like distance
it
can
has
get
affected relationships
bigger and bigger. And it's like, as a team, you need to always be fighting to keep that. Even if your work dynamic changes, like those relational connections, because like as you're saying, like relationships equal trust sometimes, and without trust you can't really build things together because people start to get catty about, well, why did she ask for this and didn't email it on time, and you know, it all turns into offense,
big misunderstandings, and
like miscommunication. So I'm curious, like what resources I know you have some books. If you're watching the podcast, you have some books that you brought in.
Show and tell.
If people want to like
continue?
You're an educator. So
yes.
Educate us.
I brought my books.
How can we be equipped in our leadership? What can we read and do?
Well, first of all, I would just say everyone has their own resources, right? Yeah. I mean, everyone has people in their sphere that you're learning from already. Yeah. And so if you're interested in finding a mentor, you probably already have someone that's speaking into your life. So it's more of just kind of pausing and going, who do I already listen to? Yeah. Who do I allow to influence my life, my thoughts, my world? And then if they're nearby or if they're still alive, reaching out to them and seeing if there's any kind of bandwidth, you know, beginning that conversation of, I would like to continue to learn from you more, you know, maybe more proactively, you know.
Yeah. And I would say to approach somebody more in your immediate sphere, not like somebody you follow online, because the likelihood that they're going to want to sew into somebody that follows them.
Well, and you can't believe that's actually how they really live.
Yeah,
either.
you never know.
That's their visual. That's their
public self.
Public self. What you want is to find someone who is living authentically
Mm-hmm.
the values that are important to you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 3 books that I've read this year, and that have really impacted my thinking as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
as a follower of Christ, as a leader. And this one is called The Making of Biblical Womanhood.
Mm-hmm.
So it's by Beth Allison Barr.
Okay.
How the Subjugation of Women Became Gospel Truth.
Oh, interesting.
So
It's a
good.
spicy title.
Really good. She is an historian. She's a professor at Baylor.
Okay.
She's really good. And then this one is Jesus and John Wayne.
Okay.
If you haven't read this one's a little controversial,
Oh, yeah.
but it's so good. It really talks. It goes through the last from the 50s and how evangelical conservatism has impacted how politics and faith have become so intertwined that it's
married.
really hard to separate the two today.
Yeah.
Where have we come from?
Mm.
And so she's also an historian, kind of walks through generationally, decade by decade, what's been going on.
Mm.
And then this one is by Krista McClellan. This is just a Bible study we did at our church called Jesus and Women. And she's more of a biblical culturist.
Okay.
And so she goes back and looks at how controversial Jesus' interactions were
With
women because he saw them. And he gave them value.
Yeah,
you know,
in a culture that didn't.
in
really.
a culture that didn't.
Yeah.
You know, there were disciples that, like Mary,
Mm-hmm.
that sat at his feet and learned from him.
Yeah.
But yet she wasn't included in one of the 12. You know,
Right.
but truly she was one of his disciples.
Yeah.
So anyway, she goes back and kind of she's in a, so all these are kind of college level text, but
Yeah.
really good to read.
Well, and even if you are someone who might initially bristle at like, oh, but I am conservative and this is just going to be one of these, out there,
Yeah.
People, I find it's good to read books from different points of view.
Absolutely.
And then formulate your
Yeah.
own view and also your own worldview of like, how have I been influenced by how I was raised? If I was like you, being raised in Texas, in
Yeah.
Southern Baptist
Well,
culture.
and this woman's past is so similar to mine
Yeah.
as far as kind of the messages that were given to women.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why she became a leader in the university realm,
Yeah.
because there was no space for her in the church.
And I think
You
that's
know?
a common problem. Like, I think that's something where I didn't even realize just how ingrained certain things were about feeling like even last year, like, or actually last 3 years since I got married, I almost like went into this autopilot of like, I have to quit everything so I can become a mom.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like, it was like,
You don't have to.
well, why? like, what? Like,
Yeah.
nobody told me that. My husband didn't tell me that.
I know.
Like,
These internalized messages.
it's weird. It was like I actually was
Yeah.
talking to some girlfriends. One's a stay-at-home mom, been there for a decade, and one's a working mom and has
Yeah.
little kids now. And I'm like, how did you guys decide what was best for you? And they were just like, we just kind of as a family figured out what worked
Yeah.
and what we felt God was calling
It's
us
a
to.
deeply personal decision.
100%.
For sure.
But you don't realize how much stuff is autopiloted.
Oof. And I thought I made the same decision.
Yeah.
When our second was born, I was like, well, I'm just going to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Well, I did that for 6 months, and I just about lost my mind. I'm not kidding. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
I need something else besides this,
Besides diapers.
besides little people. And so I started working part-time, which is
Yeah.
what got me into teaching.
Okay.
And I started teaching at a school down the street when we lived in Santo Domingo. And I was like, whoa, this is the best.
It just felt more balanced.
It was an opportunity for me to grow professionally without sacrificing anything that I was doing with my kids.
Yeah.
And honestly, I came home after teaching for 4 hours a day, and I was excited to see my kids.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been gone for 4 hours. What'd you do?
Yeah. Exactly.
And so it made me, we have to make decisions that for our own mental health,
yeah.
truly.
Mm-hmm.
We can't say this is the flat decision that every woman has to make.
Right.
No, you have to, that's why I'm like, it's a deeply personal decision.
Even if everyone in your community does it one way and
doesn't mean you have to.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is just challenging those
Yeah.
mindsets.
Those norms.
Yeah.
My mother was a full-time she worked full time.
Okay.
And so and her mother worked full time, which is, my mother's 76. I'm 50. And so, I mean, this was generationally not the norm,
Right.
you know,
No.
especially for my grandmother.
Yeah.
But they needed to, because financially they needed another income. And then my mother just, I mean, she's one of my heroes.
Yeah.
As a woman leader, you know. And so I used her example to go, I can still work and still raise my kids with my husband.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have really honest discussion with your partner.
Yeah.
Of roles and
who's doing what.
Because if your partner still sees you in a highly traditional role,
mm-hmm.
you're going to be, and you still want to work full time. Oof.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to work.
Yeah, unless you like can hire some of those things out. And I think that's something like you have to have some honest conversations about bandwidth. Like what literally can you manage? Can you both split the household chores?
Yeah.
Do you need to outsource them? Like, you know, and I think those are the logistical conversations that people are starting to have now.
Yeah.
But I think it just starts with just kind of an awareness of like, is this the right thing for me? And and I think, I mean, just to kind of close our conversation, like, do you have any advice for women who are maybe in that dance right now, who are trying to figure out,
you've had a career, now you want a family, now what do you do with your career?
Or you currently are at home and you're
and
like,
you need a career.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so one of my past roles was I directed a women's employment program.
Okay.
So and a lot of the women that were coming in were women who had taken care of everybody else in their world. Children, parents.
Yeah.
And now they're in a place where, for one reason or the other, they're having to step out and get a job on their own. That's away from the home.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, confidence was the number one biggest.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
It was really intimidating because we can train skill-wise, but confidence takes a little bit longer to grow. I would say for any woman, whether you are a stay-at-home mom or not, continue to serve and look for ways to be involved civically.
Okay.
Like you could be a stay-at-home mom, but you can still serve in positions of leadership.
They get the PTA.
Yeah, because when you're applying for a job, when it comes, 50% of marriages fail.
Yeah.
Let's just start there.
Yeah.
So even if you feel like your marriage is never going to fail, statistically, half of them do.
Yeah.
So we as women can't just kind of kick back and be like, I'm never going to have to find a job.
Right.
In fact, if you're not actively in something, it really is hard to be employable.
Yeah.
So, but all of those volunteer opportunities, you know, if you're
can add up.
Oh yeah, that can substitute a work, like an employed position.
Yeah.
So if you volunteer for Habitat for Humanity and you served on their board, or you served, you know, on this event, or I mean, it shows that you
have been in leadership roles.
That you can follow through, that you have these employable skills.
That's good advice, because I think that is something that sometimes, like, you know, I grew up with, you know, my parents got divorced, so my mom was a working mom, and my dad was in the picture, but it was, you know, she operated like a single mom. And then she never remarried, so there was never a balance to that.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother was single in the 50s, like at 9 months.
Whoa.
With my mom. My mom was 9 months old when her husband left her. And so it was like, you know,
tragic.
Yeah. Like, and so I saw, you know, both of the women in my life have to, step up. And I think sometimes I look around at women who get married really young, right out of school, and they don't think they need to ever have a career or have any leadership role. Right. And it's like, and something can happen.
Something can happen.
And it's just like, you know, and it's like, I think there's a level of always being cultivating something, whether that's a side hustle or volunteer position at church or whatever. Like, I think that's something that I am really passionate about seeing women do. So I think it's great advice.
I think women need to see ourselves as leaders.
I agree. No matter where you are in your life. Okay, last question. This is like a fun one. I didn't prepare you for this.
Okay, go ahead. What is it?
But if you have a free day and you have no responsibilities, no limits, as a 7, like, what do you do? Like, this is a
as
dream.
many things as possible.
This is a dream day. Like, so you can do. There's no financial limitation, time limitation.
Oh, well, I do live here in Denver, greater Denver area. So depending on the time of year, I'd probably go for...
You can pick the time of year.
Oh.
See, this is
Well,
a dream day.
It's dream day. It's going to be both sunny and snowy.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
I'd go for a long bike ride.
Okay.
And or go ski.
Okay.
Maybe with someone else.
Okay.
Maybe not. I'm totally fine just going on a ski day by myself.
Yeah.
I'll meet people on the
slopes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Get to know their life story on the ride up. Yeah, and I would probably spend the evening with my family. Go out to some really nice place to eat.
Have dinner.
And then either come home or go out for a movie or something.
That sounds fun.
But yeah,
I love that.
As a 7, I like to pack in a lot of things.
Yeah, you're like, how much can I cramp into my dream day?
Only 24 hours?
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I'm honored to be
If people want to follow you and kind of see what you're up to, where can they follow you?
Well, I do have an Instagram. It's my personal Instagram.
Okay.
It's Doulos Dama.
Okay.
DOULOS DAMA.
Okay.
My email is my full name, KristaAdamsWallace@gmail. So if people are interested in hearing more about leadership development with either nonprofits or education, I'd love to follow up.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.